Well, first and foremost, Rupert, thank you so much for joining us and congratulations on season 3 of Servants.
Thank you.
I'm still dealing with everything that happened in this season, and I'm completely floored by how well this story has continued to play out through these first 3 seasons, and I cannot even imagine where we're going in season 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you as well. We don't, I mean, when we started this journey, we had no idea kind of where it was going and where it could possibly go to. So every season we're always kind of really surprised, and obviously we're very drip fed kind of information. We don't get all of the scripts at once. And even now I have no idea how we're in the middle of season 4 now and we don't know how it ends. We don't know. We know a conclusion is coming, but we don't know what it is yet. So it's been a really interesting exercise of, I've never been a part of something where you kind of don't have all of the kind of elements. You're adapting in real time. So it's a really interesting way of working.
I was going to ask you, does that sort of heighten your performances then when you're sort of in those moments and as you're going from episode to episode when you don't really quite know exactly where that endpoint is going to be then for you guys, for your characters and in the story?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, at the beginning, it was always kind of, you were very aware of that, and it kind of, sometimes you do want all the information. You want to know everything so you can kind of track that arc of your character, so you can kind of have a bit of symmetry and consistency. But we're really discovering everything with the characters. So it's actually I've come to really enjoy that way of working, because it keeps you on your toes, and you never kind of, you can never really relax. You're always kind of on the edge, and that's such a kind of huge part of the tone of a show like this. So it's actually been really helpful. But yeah, who knows where we're going? I think particularly with like a few things like the kind of relationship between Julian and Leanne was something I didn't see coming at all. So yeah, that's been an interesting one to kind of work out myself, as well as we're kind of doing it, and to see where kind of what the intentions are, because you never really, that's the thing with these characters as well, you never really know who to trust and who's being kind of truthful. So it's a really interesting kind of mix of things going on.
Yeah, it was interesting because last night I was rewatching the season again. This is my third time. And my other half came in and he's like, every time I kind of jump into these episodes, I never know who the bad guy is. And that's what I think is so really interesting about Servant, because we're so used to sort of traditional ideas of who heroes and villains are. Right. And I think the way that landscape has been blurred here is just incredibly fascinating, in a way pushes storytelling that I don't think a lot of other shows are doing right now.
Yeah, that's what kind of drew me to this story. It's this kind of fascinating look into this world, and it's a kind of very uncomfortable world of like kind of privilege, and these aren't very likable characters. They're very flawed people. So yeah, it's interesting to try and find, because you're always looking for someone to root for, I guess, in a story, and in this one that's not really that clear. And so yeah, it's just a really interesting study of a family going through this kind of mad thing, and no one's really kind of on the same page. We've all got different kind of trajectories and a different role kind of to this tragedy that's at the heart of it. And it's fascinating. Yeah, I'm really kind of enjoying kind of delving into that, and now we're on the 4th season. Things are happening where it's kind of irreversible now, so it really does feel things are like, we're getting answers now, and it's exciting.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned sort of like maybe the characters aren't, so likable, but what I actually liked about season 3 is that, there's characters and they're flawed and they're dealing with things in their own ways, but ultimately, like, I like that we get these little like glimpses into like their humanity, like, and I think especially it comes through with the relationship, between Julian and Dorothy, in terms of sort of the we get a little more sense of like their relationship as brother and sister, and we get these like, you guys have the song that you sing when you're going to the beach and things like that. Like, you know, is it fun for you to be able to kind of, you know, take something that maybe, you know, on the surface seems a little abrasive, but ultimately find the heart to it as well? Because I think that's important, and I think we do get a lot of that very subtly throughout season 3.
Yeah, for sure. I think I think that is really kind of a big theme of the show. It's all about kind of love in a way. It's everything kind of the characters do, kind of whether you agree with it or not, they're all doing it because they love Dorothy and they want to, I guess, try and help and make this easy. And it's their way of dealing with it. I mean, it's an unimaginable kind of tragic thing. And I can really kind of feel that now. I'm a dad myself, kind of really understanding that kind of loss. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of love, and those kind of relationships we're seeing, yeah, like you say, with the kind of sibling kind of relationship. It's a very dysfunctional family, but at the heart of it, they are people that just want to kind of get over this and kind of move on. And yeah, it's that kind of is the heart of the show. And I think more we kind of learn about the characters and learn about the mystery. I mean, because there's so many kind of loose ends that the show kind of has to tie up within a short space of time. The shows are only like half-hour episodes, so we don't have a lot of time to really kind of get into those things. So it's been interesting kind of tracking those things as we go.
Yeah, I'm one of those people where I'm like, gosh, I really wish you guys would go to an hour each episode because there's so many things I want to know. But I do think what's interesting too about Julian, especially in season 3, is that I feel like he's on this very evident journey in terms of dealing with his, you know, alcoholism. He's also, you know, sort of going through these different relationships as well, and sort of the things he's contending with, but he's also stepping up for Dorothy in a big way. And I'm curious for you, you know, is it interesting to kind of play around with that dynamic? Because like if you watch like season 1 and season 2, he's sort of like that lovable like jerk that like kind of comes in and kind of gets things. But like even in his worst moments, I think in season 3, there's still something really sweet about what's propelling Julian to do the things that he's doing, because ultimately he is trying to do right by his family, and he is trying to do right by Dorothy, especially, you know, which I think is, you know, again, it was just really fun to watch that evolution of your character this season.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, he's gone through a real journey, really. I think at the beginning, as you say, he was this very cynical, kind of hedonistic guy who's just using all these different things to kind of distract himself and deflect from his own guilt, really, because he feels very responsible for everything that happened. But also, yeah, I think now this 3rd season, he's a very different guy. He's now sober after overdosing in the last season. So there's something slightly kind of more sober about him, and now he's the only one really trying to find out what the hell happened and where did this baby come from. And Sean is kind of on this. He thinks it's some kind of divine power, and he's kind of chasing this spiritual kind of narrative. Obviously, Dorothy is kind of lost, and Leanne is the kind of probably responsible for this whole mess. And Julian's really the only one who's he's an atheist, so he's not buying into the supernatural or anything like that. So he's this season he's really trying to be proactive, I think, and find out what the hell happened and deal with his own. And now he's fully sober, he can properly kind of deal and process his actions and his own guilt. So yeah, he's an interesting cocktail. I'm really enjoying it.
Excellent. I want to ask, because, you know, episode 10 from season 3, which was called Mama, which I really love because we get that little moment between baby Jericho and Dorothy. But I'm still reeling from the events of that episode. And I'm curious for you, because you said how like you guys don't get, you know, you don't get all of the pieces at the start of the season and things like that. How shocked were you guys when you got the script for that episode? Because like, you know, something bad is coming. I just wasn't expecting it to be, you know, this huge Omen-esque moment of like, oh my God, like we're really pushing things this far, I guess, no pun intended. But it's still like, I still watched it again last night and my heart literally jumped out of my chest watching those final moments.
Right. Yeah, I know. I mean, it was shocking. I had to read it a couple of times to really fully like understand what did that actually happen. Is this it? Is she going to make it? It's, yeah, you just don't see that coming. I think that's what I love about this show is you never really can guess kind of what's around the corner. But yeah, I mean, that was just horrific to film as well. It was, I mean, as you say, there is this kind of, you know, we're leading up to something that's kind of quite, I think this sets us up for season 4 as well. Everything that happens now is this kind of irreversible thing. We're kind of honing in on the conclusion, and kind of very serious things are happening, and it's all getting out of control. And yeah, it's quite thrilling to be part of doing that. It's yeah, but yeah, no, it just, yeah, it was so well done as well. It was just horrific to watch. I can't really, I have watched that scene. I actually don't watch the episodes ordinarily, but I did watch that scene. I just had to see had to see it. And it was, yeah, it floored me for sure. It was, yeah, very powerful.
I wanted to ask too, because I also really appreciate about Servant is the level of talent of the directors that come in there, because I think they all do a really fantastic job of. It's interesting, like you can tell that their own styles are on display, but ultimately it always feels like it's in service of the overall aesthetic and feeling of
Right.
Servant. Is it cool for you to be able to kind of like collaborate with all these different people on an ongoing basis and kind of get to experience all these different types of styles, like when you're going through these different episodes?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's brilliant. We've been so lucky. We've had such a huge variety of different kind of styles, and I mean a lot of female directors as well, which I think is amazing. But yeah, no, it's always fun. I mean, it's a hard show for someone to jump in on because it's, I mean, it could almost play as a kind of play. It's a continuous kind of narrative that's in one place. So it's hard to kind of to always find that tone because it's a very specific kind of universe where this house kind of lives. But yeah, no, it's fascinating to see how kind of the nuance of kind of different people, what they bring, different personalities. It's just, it's great. I mean, and Knight is there kind of behind the scenes all the time, kind of conducting everything. And I think he's got a really good eye for bringing in. Exactly, he'll put directors with kind of specific episodes that will kind of play to their strengths, and he'll always have kind of his eye in. And of course, his daughter as well, Shana, has got a huge kind of her DNA is on the show now. She's written kind of, I don't know how many episodes now, and directed so many. So it's a real kind of family affair as well. So it's yeah, it's lovely. I really think it's great as well as an actor because you're always kind of learning as well. So a new person comes in, and it kind of gives you a different perspective as well on your character, and it's always kind of helping keeping it fresh and new. And I think it's been a great kind of secret weapon of the show for sure, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanted to ask because one of the fun things is like when season 3 was going on, we were running an after show through Hollywood Critics Association. And so we were doing weekly episodes and recapping everything. What was really fun was having people kind of like watching along with us and like coming up with like different theories and things like that, which is like, it just brings me back. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I love as like a fan of like entertainment in general. Like I like when things provoke you and they push you and they, have you questioning things. And one of the biggest theories is sort of the house and how it's sort of like this thing that we have sort of a sense of the space of, but yet every time it's shot, it feels different. Yeah. And I'm curious, like, what is going on in there? Because like, I think that there's something really interesting about how it sort of sets the tone for everything else that we see in this show. And it's really intriguing from an outsider's perspective. And I'm wondering from you, for you, is that something that like heightens your experience every time you have to get inside that location, because it just feels like a lot.
Yeah, no, it does. It's a fascinating place to be. Because I mean, it's so immersive. They actually built, it's a fully functional brownstone house that they built on the stage.
That's incredible.
It's not like sets, so it's all kind of, it has plumbing, so it feels like a real place, and you very easily lose yourself in there. But yeah, and it's a fascinating part of the show, because it really is its own character, and it's evolving every season. We're finding kind of new corners that we didn't know existed, and it's kind of growing. I mean, initially you think it's quite limiting to be in one place throughout 4 seasons, but the house is always kind of expanding in these kind of really strange ways. But yeah, it has a really weird atmosphere in there. I don't love being in there, I must admit. It's I really have this kind of almost panic sometimes when I'm in there too long. I have to get out, because obviously it's a haunted house. Something horrible happened there. I don't know whether it's because I became a dad halfway through, and now actually baby Jericho and my daughter Wednesday, they're kind of the same age now, so they're kind of in sync and hitting the same milestones.
Oh geez.
So it's trippy. It feels very kind of close to home, which kind of did freak me out for a period of time. But yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating place as well, and it's to play a scene. In Servant, we do a lot of kind of really long takes, lots of things that are all one shot. It's like 5 pages of dialogue, so you really kind of lose yourself in this family, and it has a very specific kind of energy in the place, and you kind of have to adapt to that with your performance. So it's yeah, some things kind of, and it's hard to explain, but it's like no other set I've ever been on. It's really weird.
Wow.
But it's fun.
Well, I think it definitely heightens everything else that we're seeing going on. And you mentioned, baby Jericho, like the doll came back this season and I wasn't prepared for it, and I forgot how disconcerting it is. How weird is that doll for you guys in real life? I have to ask.
Yeah, it's hideous. It's a hideous thing. I think dolls in general, my house now I've got quite a few. Wednesday's got quite a few dolls.
Oh.
So I'm kind of used to seeing kind of dolls around. But there's something about this reborn doll. It just, the way it moves, and you hold it, is kind of weighted the same way as a baby. The hair is kind of individually kind of inserted into little follicles on its head. So it's very realistic, and it just looks dead. And that's what it is. It looks like a corpse, and that's what's the kind of freaky thing about it. But it's also hilarious as well, which is I can't really explain. So yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird thing, but yeah, it was weirdly kind of good to see him back. Scary Jerry was what we call him.
So what you call him, Scary Jerry? Love it.
Yeah. But yeah, weird object.
As somebody who grew up during like the era of like Garbage Pail Kids, I feel like Scary Jerry is like the perfect name for this weird entity of a doll. So
yeah, he can be nothing else.
Yeah. Well, pardon me. I know we're kind of getting close on our time and everything like that, but I wanted to ask you, because this is a really like intimate journey that you've been on now for several years with this character, right, living in this world of weirdness and in drama and things like that, and things that would have to take a toll. And I'm just curious for you, like, what has been sort of your biggest, like, what's been sort of the biggest thing that's impacted you through your journey thus far of being Julian and being a part of the Servant universe?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been part of something for this amount of time since Potter, really. It's really, yeah, it's really been quite profound. I think and I love work. I've learned so much. I mean, we've got such a great cast, and Knight has been kind of amazing just to watch him. I've always been a fan of his, and yeah, I've learned loads, I think. And it really is this, as I said before, it's kind of, it's almost, could almost be a play. It's almost very like theatre in many ways. So it's this real collaboration, and it's almost like we're in a band. When kind of, it's particularly like dinner table scenes, you really feel it. They kind of have to tune into each other, and because we know each other so well now. That's kind of, it's kind of an unspoken language that we all have. So it's really interesting when we're all together, and because it is such a kind of small, tight group of us. It's been great. I've really enjoyed it, and yeah, I think I can't wait to kind of see kind of where this is all going, where we're leading to. So yeah, I'm really excited.
One last question for you. Obviously, I don't imagine Servant is going to give us a huge dose of happy endings by the time we wrap,
Yeah.
because it doesn't feel like it's in its nature, which is totally fine. But I'm curious, like, what are there for season 4? What are you hoping Julian gets? Where are you hoping Julian goes? Beyond maybe what you already know about where he's heading in this season.
I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not really sure. I'm not even sure how I have no idea how it's going to end. I have no idea what would be a good, what would be a kind of satisfying ending for the characters, and I just don't know. I mean, it's fascinating to hear people's theories. I've heard some kind of insane things, and you couldn't really write any of them out because anything could happen. And I think with Night, you kind of have this pre-programmed kind of anticipation for like a major twist, so you kind of you're so alert for kind of how that's going to play out. It's coming. So yeah, I don't know. I hope he finds some kind of. I would love for them all to just have a big kind of group therapy and kind of try and breathe eventually and kind of work it all out. But I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be chaos and doom. So yeah, I don't know. I'm I really don't know. It's really bizarre. You kind of think I would have some idea, but I really don't. We'll see.
It just shows you what therapy could possibly do to help people, because if maybe these guys had just sort of dealt with a lot of these things earlier, maybe we wouldn't be where we are.
Communicate.
Definitely. Rupert, well, it has been a real pleasure, and again, it's been so much fun to follow the journey of these characters throughout these 3 seasons, and I'm really excited to see where you guys are heading, and really congratulations on everything. You've all done phenomenally well together, and it's just been a really fun journey for me as a fan as well.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, and congratulations, and get back to season 4 now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, back to it.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thank you.